Sure.
All right, we have time for one more if anyone would like to. Anyone feeling froggy? All right. Give Jeannie a big hand. Evelyn, if you could give a door prize. And I want to say something really quick first. You know, Jeannie and a lot of the national reps don't get enough credit. Sometimes a lot of affiliates don't realize what national representatives step into on occasion when they might get to a specific state. You know, I haven't had any real specific horror stories, but I've heard fellow board members who have said to President Riccobono or Dr. Maurer, I looked on the agenda and I was like the only one on the agenda when we're talking about an all-day program. So sometimes a lot of things are required from our national representatives, so I want you to give Jeannie another big hand. All right, door prize, Evelyn.
Okay, James. I
I
got
love
a stainless steel cup and a $5 gift card from McDonald's, and it goes to Zoo, Z-U-E-E.
Zoo. Is Zoo in the house? No animal. Zoo. Let's give it another try.
I'm here,
Malika.
Malika, is she here? Uh-oh, she'll be really upset.
Oh, yeah, I know.
Maybe we should open up the door and say, Malika, are you? No, I'm just kidding. Sounds like there's quite a few people outside.
Yeah, I hear people out.
Who's it, Sharon?
Sharon?
Bartow?
No. This is more like Sunday morning instead of Saturday.
People dance too late.
Ruth.
All right.
Hey, Ruth.
One more?
No, not yet. Not yet. We're gonna move on to our next presenter. If you really wanted to give a bribe to someone, our next speaker might have a photograph of me during Punk Rock Day at Tennessee School for the Blind, probably back in 1990, somewhere around that time period, 93.
99 and 192, something like that.
And so I've known Bobby for, like I said, a long time, and we actually were kind of taken out of contact for a while. But we met back up at TRC a number of years ago, and Bobby is just the kind of person who always pushes the limits a little bit. So she doesn't take for granted where she's at. She's always moving forward, moving to a new place. Every time I talk to her, she's on kind of a different track in her life, whether she's trying to build her own facility where she does counseling, whether she is learning the cello, or gosh, and I learned about her past where she showed horses, etc., etc. So everybody please give a big warm welcome to Dr. Bobby Davis.
UT is the best, just so everyone knows. Sorry, Oklahoma. Sorry, Oklahoma. Okay, am I good with the microphone? I'm going to wind up unplugging it too. I'm usually a walker talker, so I'm going to try to stand still, which will not be easy. Let's see. I went blind when I was 11 years old. I had a brain tumor. Cry already?
Let's come for it again. Come on.
11 years old that caused my optic nerves to rupture. My left eye, I've got a tiny, tiny bit of vision in it. My mother always teased and said, you're blind in one eye and can't see out the other. Most of that was because my father would always put a cup out and I'd knock it over, you know, stuff like that. You know, you get used to the blind, or the blonde. I'm blonde too. So, let's see. I was told when I went blind, don't reach for the stars, you're not going to reach them. I was told that by a psychologist who did a, I don't know, basically an evaluation. I would say it wasn't a good one because you couldn't do it with a blind person, but whatever. So this was in like 1986. I'm old. We didn't have the accommodations that we have today, okay? At that time we had audio tape, and we had a little bit of Braille if somebody wanted to teach a sighted kid that just went blind Braille in public school. But since I had a brain tumor, Mom and Dad didn't want to ship me off to the blind school in Phoenix, Arizona. So we got really mad at that psychologist, and I said, you know what? No, I will achieve, and I would love to find the dude and let him know. I'm a doctor now.
Thank you.
So, I give that credit to the Tennessee Rehab Center, okay? So let's start off with, I graduated high school with a GPA in public school of 3.8 something.
Wow.
I fought there too, because when I left the blind school, where James and I were, punk rock buddies. I have the picture. He looked like Billy Idol, if anybody knows what he looks like.
Cute, cute.
Not really. It was rough. Anyway, so we had fun at the blind school, but I didn't like it. I didn't like that they wouldn't let me go for a walk if I wanted to go for a walk, even though Mr. A had said, you've passed your cane test. So I said, I'm done. Mom, take me home. And I didn't go back. However, somehow, when I worked at the Tennessee Rehab Center, one of the girls said, you were most popular for 6 years. I said, what? How is that possible? Anyway, so I had went to finish that, went to the Austin P. Austin P is very awesome. I got my bachelor's in social work there, but while I was there at Let's Go P, we Go UT is better, right?
It's P-E-A-Y.
It's P-E-A-Y, but Let's Go P is our cheer. I have a t-shirt that says it. Anyway, so while I was at Austin P, I changed my major 5 times. Okay, I was a normal college student, had no idea where I wanted to go in life, but I knew I wanted to do it all. So at one point, speaking of gone country, I decided to be an ag major, and I took a beef class.
Really see how I'm so here.
I took a beef class, a forestry class, and a nutrition class on how to mix food for animals. I said, well, I don't want to be chopping trees, and I don't want to really be growing them. And I said, I really didn't enjoy doing the stuff that we did with the cows. So after I learned to neuter one, I said, I'm done. So I said, I'm going to go back to working with brains. So I fought really hard with the Tennessee Rehab Center to get my master's approved. So I went to my master's in social work at UT, okay, good old Rocky Top. Finished my master's there with a nice GPA of, 3.9 something.
Yeah.
Right. In your face psychologist, okay,
Yes.
whatever his name was. Then during that time I was at UT, I had another manic state and decided I was going to get a horse. Part of that was because I thought I would be single for the rest of my life, and so I met this guy who said, well, you don't need a husband, you need a horse. And I said, you're right. So I bought Coco, and Coco's name was Ibn Coco, which meant he's an Egyptian Arabian horse that meant son of Coco. Coco was a goat, and Coco nursed Coco Boy, and made him live because his mama was not old enough to nurse him. So the goat did. And Coco loved that Coco the goat. And he loved his blind mother. So anyway, that got me into really, really liking Arabians. But since Coco was kind of an ugly horse, no offense, Coco, he would not have ever been able to show. Well, I had a trainer that worked with Coco so that my blindness could ride the horse without dying. And Coco does great at letting me get on him, but then he bucks me off. So we decided to get a different horse, and I picked, well, his name is Shah Al-Hawa. But in the sense of gone country, we're going to call him Bubba of Arabia. So we have all the shirts that say it's a Bubba thing. Anyway, so I showed Bubba, and I didn't know this until I got into my third, I guess it was the third time I met Bubba. We took him to his first show with me. Now, he's been shown before by sighted people. All right, it's a lot of difference with a blind person. They had, again, I'm old. We didn't have all the technology we have today. I don't have the little iPod things you can stick in your ear, bud pods, whatever, and go for it. We had to use a walkie-talkie that was wired up my back and through my brain and in my ear, so I could hear him, but I couldn't talk to him. And he's up in the audience. We're in an arena that's as big as a football field. Huge. I think that's 100 yards. Yes. Nobody cheered for that part. Okay. 100 yards. Huge football field with, I think, 15 other horses and people. Now, I'm not on the horse's back. We're on the ground, holding his lead line. Going to show him so they compete with how they look. Now, I picked Bubba because when I ran my hands down him, I felt his face. He had a gibbet that's a very pronounced gibbet, which is like a indent down the center of their face. They have big giant nostrils and big eyes. Their faces are all chiseled out. They're not the boring quarter horses or Tennessee walkers that we have here, these big blockhead horses. These guys have very, very pronounced faces, and all the way down their body they're pronounced. You run your hands down their neck, you feel their muscles. Their necks are long and stretched out. Their bodies are covered in muscle. All right, and you shine them up with this nice glittery stuff that really blings if you can see it. Well, I didn't know they did this. We'll leave that for a moment. So I've got Bubba out in the arena. I'm about the 5th person that's getting ready to go show, and I hear my trainer say, walk forward, take about 5 steps. I take my 5 steps. I can't hear, or I can't talk or see my trainer, of course. He's up in the audience. The only one that can see me is Bubba. Bubba of Arabia, who's going, there's something really wrong with this woman. I don't know what she's doing. This is not normal. So Bubba kept reaching over and putting his nostril on my eye. And I said, stop, why are you doing that? I'm trying to be quiet because I know this football field of people's watching this. And I wiped this stuff off my face with the glittery. And I was like, gross. All right, so he did this like 4 times and touched me again and touched me again. Will you stop it, Bubba? Stop. People can see us. And I'm trying to be really, really quiet. My trainer goes, knock it off. Everybody can see you. And I'm going, I know. All right, so next thing I know, my trainer says, go, it's your turn. And I have to go run into the middle of the field, stand the horse up, stand in front of him, put the lead line up in the air, get the whip up to his nose and make him stretch his nose out, and he's all stretched out gorgeous, and people screamed bloody murder, woo! All in the audience. I was like, oh my God, what am I doing? So Bubba jumps straight up in the air. I almost lose the horse, and I'm going, keep a hold of the horse, keep a hold of the horse, keep a hold of the horse. Now again, my trainer is going, what are you doing? I get the horse back in place, they judge the horse, and he goes, line up straight, take off running. So I'm in the middle of the field, which is what, 50 yards? Okay, and I have to run 50 yards. And then turn. I couldn't hear my trainer anymore. Gone. He's gone. And I was running and I'm running and I'm running. He's not telling me to turn. I know I've ran far enough. I know I have. I've done this last night. We practiced this. Oh my gosh, are you going to tell me to turn? I was totally panicking. And all of a sudden, Bubba turns me. My foot hit his hoof and we almost went down. I grabbed a hold of the side of him and he went. And I said, we gotta walk, just walk, just walk. And the next thing I know, I'm in the line with the people. I have no idea how I got there behind a horse in front of me. All I saw was a butt. And I was like, okay, we got this. We got this, Bubba. And he goes. And I hear my trainer go, oh my God, I don't know what happened. We lost connection. You almost hit the wall. And I'm thinking to myself, everybody can see me. And the next thing I know, they say, and the winner is Baba. And you were the winner. And I was like, oh my gosh, now what do I do? All right, so we had to do that 3 more times, and then I won the World Egyptian Arabian. I don't know what year that was. I'm old. All right. After that, he was too old and I was too old, so we stopped. Okay. You can only run a football field so many times when you're in your 30s, getting close to your 40s. So since I'm 42, I said, well, it was before 42, but in 2009, I applied for my PhD and got accepted to the Institute for Clinical Social Work, and finished my degree in Freudian world and learned a lot of things about Freudian slips, which I have a lot of problems with. Let's see. Then
what did Freud say about Bubba?
Bubba said, we did find, okay, Bubba was a gelding. I'm going to go ahead and tell him, since he likes to tell people that I'm risky. We're going to take a risk. All right, so my trainer, because everybody come up to me after I've showed this horse this many times, and they were like, we want to breed, we want to breed. I'm like, you can't. He's gelded, which means he's neutered. All right. So they kept asking, and we were at this one restaurant called Bubba Barbecue, I think it was called. Something like that. It was Bubba Barbecue, Bubba Back Out Barbecue, something like that. I don't know, but it was Bubba something. And all of a sudden, my trainer comes running through the restaurant with this bag of peanuts. Oh, God. And he yells, guess what I found? Bubba's nuts. So we can breathe. All right.
Keep so, turn off the microphone.
Peanuts. Anyway, so we're going to wrap this up professionally.
That's spelled Pete.
That's spelled P-E-E. Okay, so I go into my PhD. Bubba's retired. Okay, he's not showing anymore, thank God. And I'm in this. I find my husband. And I did the same thing. I ran my hand down his muscle. Okay, I'll stop. He hates me. He's over there right now. All right. So, very handsome man. I got very lucky with my husband. We went to Fort Belvoir. I won some awards there. I finished my PhD. I wrote a book. It was published. It was about feeling broken. Soldiers come home, an exploratory study of combat soldiers that feel broken. It was a huge research project that took way too long, but I was able to complete that with 15 soldiers that were willing to sit with me and let me get into their brain. So, and it was very profound information they gave me. I give them all the credit. So it very much is very hard for them to open that kind of stuff up. And then say, yes, you can publish it. So there's a whole nother level there. So it is published, it's out there for a cheap cost, if any of you want to read about PTSD and feeling broken. Let me wrap it up with success, okay? We go blind at some point in our life, whether we're born blind or whether something happens to us. We don't have to let that stop us. Okay, okay, Tennessee Rehab Center gave me the program that let me go through my bachelor's program, that let me go through my master's. I did have to pay for my PhD. Nobody gets credit for that but me and my husband's loan payoff. Anyway, but we have to believe in ourselves to be able to do that. In order to do that, we have to do what I teach all of my clients to do, is stop the negative thoughts. Okay? If we have, research shows that we have 64,000 thoughts a day on an average, every person. That's a lot of thoughts. Okay, I'm sure you've had a lot out there while I've been talking. Like, who is this woman? All right, but we're going to stop that thought. Okay, and we want to stop it with a positive thought as soon as it happens. So I'm going to tell you, in the spirit of Gone Country, is to yell in your head, "Whoa, Nellie," and make it stop. And then you put a positive thought in behind it, okay? If we don't do that, we are not going to achieve anything. You're not going to be able to sit through 86 interviews after you have your master's degree in social work for somebody to tell you, you're going to slip in the mud. You're going to not be able to see the clients if they start crying. What are you going to do if a client has a knife in the room? And I'm like, I'm going to do the same thing you're going to do. Scream. What do you mean? I'm not taking them down. We're going to yell for the purple folder. Anyway, we have to be able to do everything everybody else does in a little bit of a different way. And that means use your support systems. That means say, Mom, I need your help. Dad, I need your help. You know, TRC, teacher, get me to the elevator, whatever it is, we've got to ask for that support. And there is nothing wrong with that. If it weren't for my mother, my father, my husband, my niece Sydney, who's here helping you guys this weekend, if it weren't for my family, it wouldn't have happened. My mom told me a long time ago, you can do all things through Christ who strengthens you. He's on my right side, the guide dog's on the left, okay? And if I go to heaven and get my side back, I better get my guide dogs too. All right, I don't know if anybody's got questions or not. If you do, I'll try. Don't ask about the peanuts.
How did Bubba like his nuts?
We didn't give them to him. I wasn't dealing with all the breeding.
How can you be old when you're younger than me?
I don't know.
I'm not old, I'm 55.
We're close. We're close.
Question.
Okay.
This is Tara. What was your response when the interviewers asked you the question, how are you going to do this? How are you going to do that as a blind person?
I asked him if could he slip in the mud.
You said what now?
I asked him if he could slip in the mud. What happens if he slips in the mud? Does he sue the people? I mean, I said, what was the difference? But they were very, I don't know, I mean, I interviewed at Subway when I got fed up thinking I'm never going to get a job as a social worker, so I went and interviewed at Subway, and they said, you might cut yourself. You know, so it was 86 interviews. 86 before the Tennessee Rehab Center hired me and gave me a shot. And then I was the blind leading the blind. It was great. For, I think it was about a year I worked there. I got my foot in the door, and then they transferred me, and I worked at the Child Abuse Hotline. I worked there for about 6 months when they found out that they had a blind lady that has a master's degree in social work working in Nashville. And Clarksville threw a fit and said, get her where she's supposed to be, and they brought me down there, and I was a resource manager. So, I hold an award from it's our region here, in the region of the Army. I can't think of the name of the region at the moment, but I hold the DOD award for Employee of the Year. So, somebody stole my Braille. They gave me an award that had Braille on the front of it so I could read it. Somebody stole it. They thought it was so neat, so they stole it. So I don't have that award anymore, but I keep the honor. It's horrible. What?
I got one in '88, and they put the Braille upside down.
Oh, no. Oh, no. That's funny. They did
One
that
more
in the
question.
elevator. The
Pope
elevator
and
also
Ollie,
being- Go ahead.
So when did you find the Federation?
I found the Federation when I went blind at 11 years old, so 1986. And I wouldn't say I found it, they found me. They found out when we were in the hospital, the brain tumor, that I was going to be blind. And I don't know who it was in the hospital. I mean, I was high. So I don't know. I was way on morphine and had no idea what was going on. But when I got out of the hospital, the next person that saw us was a mobility instructor helping my mom and dad learn how to guide me around. I mean, immediately. So I've been off and on member. JB yells at me for that all the time. But I'm off and on member because I'm in and out of the state doing whatever I'm doing.
Sure.
So I mean, my PhD was out of Chicago. So you know, I always come back home though.
Yeah.
Thank you guys very much.
I kind of wanted a duck story too. She used to have guys about a dog named Duck. I'm sure she might accidentally cuss if she had a duck story. John Harris, if you could move forward to the front table, we're going to have a door prize. Evelyn, that was really good. What did you get? Give Bobby another hand.
Okay, I have a $10 gift card from Outback and a $25 gift certificate for rides with Lyft.
Oh, there we go.
I use them all the time.
Call my name.
Melissa Ford.
She ain't here.
Melissa Ford? Melissa Ford?
Not here.
Melissa Ford.
Deborah Carter.
BC.
Stand up.
Deborah, raise your hand. Stand up.
She's up front here.
All right, up next is our scholarship presentation. We're very proud of our scholarship awards that we give to 3 blind students once a year. And again, this past year, John Harris has been our scholarship committee chair. He's done a fabulous job, and he is here from the Stones River chapter to tell you about our scholarship winners. Give John Harris a hand.
Well, I started.
Oh yeah!
Tried to go back to my old DJ days, and you know, when you said, I said, then the music go back, you know, DJs cut in. Couldn't win that, so I went to be a director of disability service at 14. So I could have been really famous. Somewhat famous. Oh, great song. Good morning. Good morning. Federation. It's good to be here always, and listening to the presentations that's already been given. What a great presentation we just heard. I mean, just and then before that, I mean, just excitement there. And James gave me one of the most exciting jobs, a task that I have in being in the Federation. That is to be the chair of the scholarship committee and put that together. That's, to me, that's the fun that we do. And what a remarkable meeting we had with our applicants last night. I mean, it was one of the best meetings we've ever had. It's like one of those meetings you have with those the things that they're going to be doing and what they've done, that you didn't want to stop the meeting, where you could just go the rest of the night. I mean, it was really and there. And so let me say that it's an honor to keep that that our federation and our organization gives the scholarships, and it's great to learn some of the things that our students who past winners are doing, and the present winners are going to do. I mean, you know they're going to do something. I mean, I think we left there last night. We just kind of turned to each other and said, "Those people are going to do something in life. We know that." You know, I mean, and that's really exciting to me. So we have three. Our finalists. We did all of it. It's my third or fourth year doing this, and so we've tweaked it a little bit. Now we've gotten to where we can give our where we do all of our work ahead of time, except for we get down to the three finalists. And those three individuals are going to are the scholarship winners, and we will meet we'll meet at noon and see who's 1, 2, and 3. So after that, so they will get a scholarship, but it was interesting to do that. So I would like to at this time present the three finalists for our scholarship. The first place winner will get $1,000, and then second and third place will tie. They'll get $500 each. No, so we do three winners. So $500 each for those three, the other two. And one of the things that we like to ask them to do, I would like to come here and present them to you, so that they need, James gives us, 15 minutes, I guess, James, or so? Mm-hmm. Okay, and they have to give us, I told them they need to give us 1 to 3 minutes of a great speech, because we haven't decided who's going to win the $1,000 yet. So they need to convince us on the $1,000, huh? Yeah. No, go ahead, sorry. So they need to decide. So if they want 5 or 1,000, if it were me, I'd make up something to get to 1,000. Is what they would. But these folks will not have to make up something. They're all going to be good. They're just going to make our lives a little bit harder. So we're going to ask them. Let's see, how do we want to do this, Dr. Carter? Do we want to just call them in order, or?
Yeah, alphabetical order.
Alphabetical order. Okay.
Yeah. I'm first, the last name doesn't play.
Is that well? Who's first?
Jimmy.
Jimmy. Y'all call him Jimmy Bones. His name is Jimmy Bangs. We know him as Jimmy Bangs.
Hey guys.
Jimmy?
Yes, here I am.
Go!
Go. All right. Well, I first want to thank the scholarship committee for all that you guys have done with looking over the scholarships and meeting with us. You guys are such a fine example for us as we continue in our education and so forth. I recently, I was doing, I was studying for a lesson for one of my classes, and it was talking about perceptions and how we view our lives and our experiences and even our circumstances. And it mentioned the term survivor, and it's asked, are you a survivor or a victim? And when I thought about my personal experience, I was 29 in 2010, and I lost my sight to a suicide attempt. And I thought about that, and I said, you know what, I am a suicide survivor. Yeah. And the Federation opened its arms to me. So when I lost my sight, I didn't know anyone who was blind, and went to TRC, and that's where I met some Federationists, and then I went to MTSU and met some more Federationists, and they opened their arms, they welcomed me, and they taught me the NFB philosophy and helped me to see that my blindness was just a mere characteristic, and that was that. And I could still do whatever I wanted to do. I just had to figure out what that was. But I knew I would not be, where I am today if it wasn't for the Federation. I wouldn't be a graduate student at the Peabody College of Vanderbilt University, which is one of the top universities in the country for clinical mental health counseling, their program. Dakota, my friend, he's here also. He's one of our volunteers, and we work really hard through that program. but it's really been a blessing because the Federation is still supporting me through that program and through the Federation and through the scholarships. And these are so important because they teach us so many fundamentals. For instance, when I hear the word fail, I don't think I'm a failure. I view it as first attempt in learning. When I hear the word no, I view that as next opportunity. I don't take no for an answer. And I've learned that through the Federation, that if there's a roadblock or things are just aren't going the way I feel that they should, I just dust off and I keep on going and don't take no for an answer. And I've learned that from the Federation. So thank you guys so much for this opportunity, and yes, I'm just so appreciative to the Federation and all the resources and everything that that's made available to us. So thank you guys so much.
And Matt, is Matt Cromer? Where's Matt? Coming? Okay, good deal. Chattanooga State Community College, huh? All right, talk to us about it.
Okay.
There you go, the mic's there.
Thank you.
All right.
I'm not a great public speaker, so
You'll do good. You'll do good.
Here.
Do what you did last night and you'll be great.
I'm a student at Chattanooga State. I'm a biology major. Like most college kids, could definitely use any scholarship. And this scholarship in particular, I think is very important because it's an opportunity for the blind to help the blind, and school is already very difficult, both just to get through and financially. So being blind doesn't help add to that equation. So anything we can do to help each other, I think, is a great opportunity. And I think overall, we all should try to help each other because not necessarily anyone else will. And for me in particular, the scholarship gave me the opportunity to meet the NFB. I'd never heard of this. I'd never been part of a blind group or organization before, so this is a first time, just completely. And it's partially on me, but I didn't really know. I lost my vision when I was in high school, and so my parents didn't really know how to go about anything. I didn't know how to go about doing anything. None of my friends did, so I pretty much just kind of kept doing the same thing I was already doing. And it kind of ended up getting harder because there were certain things that I thought that I wasn't able to do anymore. So I kind of isolated myself, and just recently I started meeting people that were blind, and I got this amazing opportunity to come here and meet all of you. And it has been very, very eye-opening and helpful, and I just want to thank everyone here. I want to thank the NFB for the opportunity, for the scholarship. I want to thank the Hilton. It's been a great environment, and the staff has been super helpful.
Yes, they have.
And I'd like to thank John Harris for answering all my questions. I've been bombarding him continuously since I met him, and he's always been helpful and willing to guide me in the right direction. And I want to thank all of you. Really, most of the experience is meeting every single person, and you've been so helpful and encouraging. I have not met a single person that hasn't been nice to me, and I just want to thank you very much. And this has definitely, I definitely want to join and come every year because this has been super nice. So thank you.
And Marilyn Porter Wilson. Oh, yeah. Where's Marilyn?
Right here.
She's named after my sister. My baby sister's named Marilyn. All right. Need somebody help her along the way? Oh, she's coming. All right. Yeah. See that they all trying to get independent and everything so they can win a scholarship.
My husband is helping me.
Oh, well, he's good too.
Oh.
Here we go, right here. Can you get around here?
Yeah.
All right, good deal. All righty. And right here, the mic right straight ahead there. There's the mic.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Isn't this a lovely family reunion?
Yeah.
We're all with our people here. My name, of course, I introduced myself on last night, and I'll say it again. I am Marilyn Monroe. Some of you thought she was dead, didn't you? But actually, I am Marilyn Sauter Wilson, and I'm glad to be here on today. And this is a great opportunity as well as a privilege to see a lot of my family members who I haven't seen in a while. I've been to conventions before, but this is really wonderful. This is what we can call our family time. Whether you want to accept it or not, if you are blind, you are in this family. Or you may have someone in your family who's blind. So don't feel bad that you don't have a big family, because you do. Just look around. You didn't know you had so many sisters and brothers. But I want to say I have copied off of him throughout my lifetime, and a lot of his cliches I've used. And it just so happened that this is a week that is the appropriate time. The MLK 50 is going on in Memphis, and they are celebrating the death of Martin Luther King. And my little cliche that I use of him all the time is, I have a dream. Okay. And most of you who are blind, you have a dream. And this is why you're here, because you're pursuing your dream. You're here for more knowledge and to meet others who have a dream as well as you. So I have a dream as well. And I went through the same thing as everyone that's here, the denial, the crying, why me, what I'm gonna do now. But when we get through crying and feeling sorry for ourselves, we have to get up and do something about it. You gotta wipe the tears away and say there has to be another way. And that's what I did. One day I was just thrumming the dials of the my radio, just turning the dial. Wasn't looking for anything in particular. And I happened to hear this a radio station. It was the blind station in Memphis, WYPL, I believe it is. And the former president, some of you all knew him, he was the president of the chapter at that time, Michael C. They were interviewing him, and he was talking about his experience with his blindness and his accomplishment. And I was like, wait a minute, what have I found here? And that is how I found the Memphis chapter of the Federation of the Blind. So public relation is a good thing. And since that time, I was introduced to Partners on Policy Making, and Ned Solomon really trained me well.
Yes, he does.
I believe I could advocate with Donald Trump if I had to. If I had to, and I believe I'd win. But I count this an honor to be accepted to receive a scholarship. I am a student at Southwest Tennessee Community College there in Memphis, the Whitehaven location, and of course I'm at the Union campus sometime. And now, since I've been chosen to be on the Phi Theta Kappa, I'm at the Macon campus sometime. So I am very honored, and I'm very privileged to be a scholarship recipient. This scholarship will help me as a blind student, because we all at one point have been VR clients. And sometimes you go through the hassle of putting the application in for what you want, and it takes time for it to be processed. Sometimes you get it and sometimes you don't. So you want to continue your education, but it's not a abracadabra thing. You have to wait. So, this scholarship will help me to be more accessible, and to also to shed some light and raise the awareness as high as I can at Southwest, because there are other blind people who would like to be a college attendance. But the fear is this: if I go to college, do they have the accessible technology that I need? So what we have to do as blind students who are already in college is let our professors and our faculty members know what we need. That's where your self-advocacy come in. You have to let them know what you need, because they have no clue of really what you need as a blind person. And one thing really gets under my skin when someone tried to tell me what I need and what I don't need. If you haven't walked a mile in my shoes, then you don't know.
Preach.
You don't even have a clue, because every day for us is a task. When we get up in the morning, get dressed, and to go about our daily chores, once that day has completed, that's a day of a task, that we have accomplished something, because every day is a new day. And I'll close in saying this, that I'm not discouraged. I'm going to continue on to pursue and to further my education. And I'll say like Maya Angelou, yet still, I'll rise.
All right.
Good job, young lady. So you see the task that we have? We'll decide something tonight. Or I should say, they will. You know what? I'm not just not vote. See, as the chair of the committee, I think I'll just let the members. No. This was one of the best groups that since I've been doing this 4th year. I guess James gave me the honor to chair the scholarship committee, and this group was a very good group, and we covered the state. A person was fortunate enough to have an applicant from West Tennessee, Middle Tennessee, and East Tennessee, and that covers the 3 grand divisions of our state. And tonight we'll award those scholarships, and I'm looking forward to it. And I thank you all for the opportunity to serve in this role. And it's as I said, if you want, if you're looking for a committee to join someday, this is one of the best ones. It really is. You get to find out.
You get to give away money.
Well, what our people are really like, and the people that have been. As I said, I walked out of that meeting last night knowing that these 3 individuals are going to do something in life. Yeah. We know that. Thank you. All right, thank you, John. All right, I'm going to shut my eyes. I'm looking out at everyone, and I'm turning my head, and I'm using my predator vision. I don't know if you guys ever saw that movie, The Predator, but I can tell that your legs are not getting blood flow into them. So we're going to have our favorite daughter of Tennessee, Jessica Beecham, do a fit break. Jesse.
I have to ask first, is Dr. David Martin, are you in the room? Are you back in the room? All right, come on up here. So Dr. Martin and I were sitting in the back of the room where the kids sit. He is our new superintendent of the Tennessee School for the Blind, and I'm so thrilled that he's here today. So I reached over and I tapped him and I said, hey, will you come up here and do a fit break with me? So for those of you who don't know, our fit breaks are little ways that at the National Convention we get up and we move around. So Dr. Martin, of course, being here from the Tennessee School for the Blind, which is where I went from kindergarten through 12th grade when I graduated, he reminded me of my school days, and I thought we should all stand up and do the hokey pokey. So we're going to stand up.
All right.
All right. So I need you guys to sing along with me because I'm a terrible singer. So you put your right hand in, you take your right hand out, you put your right hand in and you shake it all about. You do the hokey pokey and you turn yourself around. That's what it's all about. Left hand, you put your left hand in, you take your left hand out, you put your left hand in and you shake it all about. You do the hokey pokey and you turn yourself around. That's what it's all about. Right foot, you put your right foot in, you put your right foot out, you put your right foot in and you shake it all about. You do the hokey pokey and you turn yourself around. That's what it's all about. Left foot, you put your left foot in, you take your left foot out, you put your left foot in and you shake it all about. You do the hokey pokey and you turn yourself around. That's what it's all about. Whole self, you put your whole self in, you take your whole self out. You put your whole self in and you shake it all about. You do the hokey pokey and you turn yourself around. That's what it's all about. All right. So I hope you guys have gotten to wake up a little bit. And let's give another round of applause to David Martin, because he is, I think, probably one of the only superintendents in quite a long time who has decided to come and take his time to see what we're all about. And so we appreciate them very much.
Yeah.
I feel like there's another part of that song. I'm going to skip part of it.
There's plenty more.
All right, let's do a door prize before we have our next presenter. Anybody ready for one? All right.
Okay, I have a bag of kitchen gadgets. And it goes Christy Odell. Is this her right here?
Christy Odell, are you in the room?
Okay. And one more bag of cleaning stuff and $5. It goes to Roxy Chamberlain.
Roxy! There you go. I have the honor of introducing our next guest. Some of you may be familiar with a service called IRA. And back, I don't know, around 9 months ago or so, I called up IRA, and I got a return phone call from this guy named Marty. And I told him, Marty, I'm interested in trying to get the state, Tennessee Department of Transportation, to pay for my IRA subscription, as a reasonable accommodation through my work. And he said, well, let's work on this. And so we wrote a couple letters, we did a few things. Typical Tennessee state bureaucracy. 9 months later, I got my IRA. So we worked through the whole procurement process of what that means for the state to actually legally buy something. So hopefully we've led the way for other people to come along and be able to access IRA more easily. But me and Marty had a good conversation last night about developing more ways to allow state locations such as travel rest areas, universities, and work locations to be IRA locations where the state would actually pay for our minutes instead of the blind folks. So we're going to be working on that, but please welcome Marty. He's a wonderful gentleman from IRA.
Thank you, everyone. That was hilarious. James warned me. I thought it was a joke. He's like, yeah, we'll have you come up and we'll play the Blazing Saddles song. I'm like, I love that movie. Sure, let's do it. Yeah, right? That's fun. So, thank you for the warm welcome, for the funny intro. So I'm excited to be here. It was so great to be able to connect and meet James and see the other James that I have spent some time with as well, and just to be able to meet you all and talk and just kind of explain what IRA is doing. And so let's just make sure that everyone understands who we are and what we can do, and then we'll talk about some of our initiatives. So IRA is on a mission to make the world a more accessible place. And so we want to do it on your terms, on your schedule, when and where you want it. And the way that we're doing that is simply with smart glasses that have a camera or the camera on your cell phone. And what that does is it connects you to a highly trained remote human agent in about 10 seconds. And all that person there is tasked with doing is giving you access to the information that isn't available to you. Whatever that camera sees, that person explains. So I think a great way to lead off is let's just do a demo, and we'll call one of our agents, and we can let the room hear exactly what it sounds like.
Hi, Marty. Thanks for calling Ira. This is Patrick. How can I help?
Hi, Patrick. I'm here at the Nfb Tennessee State Convention, and yeah, let's give Patrick a warm welcome. So, Patrick, let's assume I need some help locating a seat.
Okay, well, absolutely. So, from the view that I have directly now, I do see that there's a few open seats that are lining the middle walkway, going in between all of the two columns of chairs that are in front of you. If you turn to your right a little bit, I can also see that there are a few open seats in the very front row, just to your right, sitting next to a lovely lady wearing a very light-colored sweater as well. So it looks like you have several options for seating.
And just give me some general description of the room if I wanted to make sure that I know where all the exits were.
Okay, well, first of all, I can see that you have quite a bit of attention on you, and it does look like this is being filmed by several people as well on their phones. Pictures, I'm pretty sure Marty is a celebrity at this event. On the left side of the room, towards the back, it does look like there is some exits. I can see a lot of bright light coming in the room as well, so it looks like the lighting in the room is extremely bright. But yeah, it does look like there's two exits on the left wall towards the back of the room. And I still see some hands waving, by the way, so if you want to
Hello. Great. Patrick, where are we today?
Okay, so currently, let me go ahead and pull up your location right now. I do see you are located at the Hilton Garden Inn in Nashville. I know that you are at the Nfb Tennessee currently, which is right off of Highwood Boulevard, not too far from the 24, the Interstate 24.
And if I wanted to grab a bite to eat.
Well, you have a Cracker Barrel Old Country store within walking distance, just a few parking lots away. And if you felt like taking an Uber or a Lyft, both of which I'm able to call for you, you have several options in the area as well. There's also a Cheddar's, let's see, this one is called a Cheddar's Scratch Kitchen. You have Zaxby's Chicken Fingers and Buffalo Wings. You have Starbucks, IHOP, Panera, Tokyo Japanese Steakhouse. There's Publix, which has fantastic subs. And you have Malco Roxy Cinema as well, in case you wanted to catch a movie after your presentation.
Awesome. Patrick, thank you. If we have any other questions, I'll be sure to call you back. Thank you.
All right, well, have a great day. Bye, everybody.
Bye. Take care. So that was.
Nashville, he didn't say Smyrna.
He didn't say Smyrna.
No, he didn't. Well.
So Patrick is one of our many agents across the country, and he is there, like as you heard, to give me the information that I need to do what I want on my schedule, right? So where I want to go, when I want to go, and he acts as my kind of my personal concierge, right? So everyone's familiar with how OnStar might work in a car. You tap that button and the person arrives on the speaker. Ira is the same exact thing, except it's solely designed to bring information to those who are blind or low vision. So currently, the way that Ira is bringing our product to market is by attending events like these and providing Ira direct to consumers. We have 4 consumer plans. We have 1 special exclusive NFB plan. And so anyone that signs up for Ira today here at the event will get your first month free. And so there's no risk to you, so I encourage you all to sign up. You get glasses in about a week. You go through a training process with IRA. It's very straightforward. So I have a table outside here. I'd love you to come and visit and talk to me and sign up. But if we talk about kind of IRA expanding and how are we making IRA even more useful to you, is that you're all probably very familiar with arriving someplace and having that location or that business offer free Wi-Fi, right? So that's something that is pretty standard today. 4 or 5 years ago was not standard. If anything, if it was available, it was at a premium cost. And so the way that IRA is asking businesses to be involved in our efforts is just like they're offering their patrons access to Wi-Fi for free. Why wouldn't they offer access to IRA for free? And so we have the full court press on building IRA smart cities across the country. And so the way that we're doing that is it started again with our airport effort. And the first airport to join the IRA airport network was Memphis. That's right, yeah. And so what that means, and it's really the tip of the iceberg, is that anyone who subscribes to IRA and anyone who doesn't subscribe, even if you're not, you show up curbside at that airport and you're either using your smart glasses if you do have IRA, and if you don't, you download the IRA app on your phone for free, and you can use IRA as a courtesy provided to you by the airport throughout that entire facility. And so we've subsequently rolled out to Minneapolis, both airports in Houston, Seattle, and we have a handful of other airports coming online. And so that effort is moving from the IRA airport network to the IRA campus network. So we want universities and schools all across the country to make their entire campuses IRA enabled. We want hospitals, transportation systems, where you go to the grocery store, where you go to the pharmacy. All of these places have the ability in a very easy and simple fashion to partner with IRA. And so I think it's important for all of you to know that that's where we're spending our time. Yes, I want you to sign up, but the real value comes in us penetrating all of those businesses and making them understand that access to information is a basic human right. And if they agree with that, they'll act on that by partnering with IRA. And so that's really our goal, and that's our mission, is to build smart cities. So I just wanted to make sure that everyone was aware, because I feel like sometimes it's hard to understand what's driving a business and where you're going and where we're actually investing our time. And our efforts are spearheaded by the fact that if I was to say here today that every Target, every Walmart, every CVS, every Rite Aid, every Ruby Tuesdays, every Cracker Barrel was part of the IRA network, it would make the usage of our service even that much more beneficial to you. So that's what we're driving towards. So thank you. Does anyone have any specific questions about IRA or for IRA or anything at all that you're curious about?
I do.
Okay.
Marty, have you guys theorized what it would look like with IRA when 5G is available across the country?
Yes, so we know that the one limiting factor is connectivity for IRA. And as access to the internet becomes more prevalent in that fashion, we might expand on how we do provide service. So right now we lead with AT&T, they're our primary partner. They're helping us already roll out across the country, and now they're going to be part of our global expansion. But I think that as more and more 5G access pops up, we would consider any means of connectivity if it was better for you as the consumer. Right. Sure. Great question.
I have a question.
Shoot.
You say if we sign up today, it's free for a month, whether we have the glasses or put it on our iPhone, right?
Yeah, so you would sign up with me today. You would get the next month free. you could download and install the app on your smartphone today. Start using Aira today, right here, right now. You get your glasses in about a week. And then basically for the next 30 days, your usage, completely free. Take it home, bring it to work. See where it really fits for you. If you choose to stay with us as an explorer, then we would just simply keep billing your card as we would start on that 30-second day. If it wasn't for you, we'll send you the return shipping label and you can mail everything back to us.
And you can still keep the app and use it in free Aira locations.
Exactly. So Aira guest access is basically what would happen at those airports, those retail shopping locations. All of those places would be offering Aira as a service, even if you weren't a paying subscriber.
Through your phone at that point.
Exactly. You'd be using it on your phone, you'd be using your cell phone camera. Yeah. So no cost for hardware at all. The NFB plan is 140 minutes per month for $99. You get an extra 60 minutes for use at work or at home for the first 6 months. You get access to Aira at every state convention as well as national convention. And then also, every member of the NFB plan contributes to a giant pool of minutes that everyone has access to. And the way that it would work in your state is James will tell me, Marty, for the month of April, May, and June, I want every Target in the state of Tennessee to be a site access location so that my NFB members can go and shop there and use Aira for free.
Marty, you have to have a smart, you definitely have to have a smartphone, because you can't use an old flip phone.
So right now, yes, correct. You do need to have either an Android phone or an Apple phone. But what we announced about a month ago is our next version of our smart glasses, which will actually come with a phone that we send with you. So you don't need to have a smartphone. Those will probably be out sometime this summer. What's neat about them is that they are enabled with our artificial intelligence assistant, her name is Chloe. And so just like you say, hey Siri, or hey Alexa, or maybe other horrible names for Alexa, you would say, hey Chloe. Chloe will have skills. The first skill that Chloe has today is that she can read to you. So we'll have new smart glasses with a center mounted camera that has 120-degree field of view. It will come with that phone, and it will come with our artificial intelligence assistant. So,
I have a question. Marty,
yes.
Say for instance, what is the distance of range of the connection? If I'm on a tour in Hawaii, would I be able to use the glasses there?
So what we provide you currently is I'm sending you smart glasses, and I'm actually sending you a hotspot. So we're covering all of your data usage. So anywhere in the United States, you would bring your glasses, you would bring your hotspot, and it would work in any of those locations. If you traveled abroad, Aira will work. You just have to provide whatever data connection you're using on your cell phone. So currently, Aira is only available in the U.S.
All right, one more question?
Yeah, Marty.
Yes.
So how can we help advocate for businesses to sign up with you guys?
Awesome question. So the way we're currently expanding is because that is actually happening, right? So Aira explorers are saying, look, how can I do my part? I know X, Y, and Z person. So I would say a great story is an Aira explorer in Florida got the attention of her Publix store manager, set up a 20-minute call with me. That person took all that information, flew it up the Publix chain, and now we have a meeting set with corporate. So I think it's just, yeah, so it's not hard. I would ask every single person in this room is that you're probably once or twice away connected with someone in a leadership position within a business, and it's just simply asking questions. Hey, look, did you know about this service? Excuse me. Did you know that it exists? And did you know that they can make your entire store immediately accessible overnight? So I think it's asking those questions, Jeannie, and then I think connecting directly back with me is would be wonderful.
That's great. Everybody, Marty will be available out in the hall. He has an exhibit table set up. And feel free to ask some questions, but give him a big hand. Door prize.
That sounds like the predator.
Okay. Why is everybody mocking me this weekend?
Because we can. Okay, I have a $10 gift card for Starbucks. And it goes to Adam Hickson. Adam Hickson.
Right here.
All right,
I have one more.
One more door prize if you do win. Stand up and scream if you're happy. If you know it, you got a door prize.
Okay, a $10 gift card for Chick-fil-A. And it goes Bobby Davis.
A Subway gift card.
No, no. Chick-fil-A works too. I'll take it lunch break.
All right, I ran for president 6 years ago in the great city of Memphis, and my campaign manager, my first year running, I had zero experience of being a president, and when I mean zero, I had never been a chapter president. I had just barely gotten on a chapter board, so I needed a little bit of assistance to win, and so Jessica Beecham was kind of my official campaign manager. And Jessica, after that, she immediately left the state. And she's been in Colorado, and she's done some awesome things. And she almost always comes back to our convention because she loves it so much. Please give Jessica a warm, loving hand.
Thank you guys so much. It's always my very, very, very favorite to get to come back to the National Federation of the Blind at Tennessee State Convention. I always feel like I'm at home, so if you see me with my feet up on the banquet table tonight, you'll know why. So, Arthur C. Clarke said that the only way to find the limits of possible is to go beyond them to the impossible. Although many people think that Arnold Schwarzenegger's best quote is, "I'll be back." He also said that in our society, women who break down barriers are those who ignore limits. T.S. Eliot said that only those who are willing to go too far can possibly know how far one can go. The National Federation of the Blind believes that with love, hope, and determination, we transform dreams into reality. For over 78 years, the National Federation of the Blind has been defying expectations to show the world that there's no limit to the capacity of blind people. I am fortunate to have been surrounded by Federation leaders who are never afraid to blaze new trails. Dr. Mark Maurer often tells the story of the time that Dr. Fred Schroeder taught him to use a chainsaw. Now, Dr. Maurer was a little nervous at the beginning of this lesson, but he knew that Dr. Schroeder was a very capable teacher. So they proceeded with the lesson. No limbs were lost. And after the lesson, Dr. Schroeder told Dr. Maurer that before teaching him, he himself had never used a chainsaw. When President Margaret Gabono was hired to direct educational programs for the National Federation of the Blind Jernigan Institute, Dr. Maurer tasked him with developing a science camp for blind children. President Riccobono said, well, he wasn't president at the time, but he said, great, so what's the plan? And Dr. Maurer said, well, isn't that what I hired you for? Because of Mark Riccobono's imagination and willingness to forge forward into unknown territory, because there weren't lots of science camps, there weren't lots of STEM opportunities for blind children in the early 2000s. We have our Youth Slam program, our Rocket On program, and lots of other science programs for kids. And some of the participants from those first programs are now blazing new trails in STEM careers. Notably, Jordan Castor, one of the first Youth Slam attendees, is now a software developer for Apple. In the 1980s, 3 wild women realized that the blindness services being provided by many state agencies just wasn't cutting it. Thanks to the innovation of Diane McGeorge, founder of the Colorado Center for the Blind, Joyce Scanlon, founder of Blind Incorporated, and Joanne Wilson, founder of the Louisiana Center for the Blind, the face of blindness rehabilitation has been forever transformed. When you're surrounded by heroes like these, it's easy to understand that we not only control our futures, but we have the responsibility to set a high bar for those who will follow in our footsteps. As president of the National Federation of the Blind Sports and Recreation Division, I am honored to know some blind people who have done pretty incredible things. Eric Weinmeier became the first blind person to summit Mount Everest. Now, thousands of people make this trek each year, but only a handful actually reach the summit. Jason Romero crossed the United States by foot, ran across the United States 50 miles a day in 60 days. Only 300 people have crossed the United States by foot, and Jason's crossing in less than 60 days puts him among the fastest of those who have completed this epic trek. Eric Manser set the world visually impaired record for Ironman triathlon by completing a 2.4-mile swim, 112-mile bike ride, and 26.2-mile run in 10 hours, 42 minutes. Amy Dixon became the first U.S. female to complete an Xterra triathlon, which includes an open water swim and a very technical bike and trail portion. Bettina Dolansek is the first blind CrossFit instructor. Rhonda Marie Avery became the first blind person to compete in the Barkley Marathon, the world's toughest foot race that takes place right here in Tennessee. The Barkley Marathon is a quirky and grueling race. If you've never heard of it, check out episode 37 of the Find Your Fit podcast, that's mine, or watch the Barkley Marathon documentary on Netflix. It is truly a race like none other, and you'll be pretty amazed when you see what Rhonda was up against. Only 14 people have ever completed the Barkley Marathon, by the way. So let's give it up for all the blind people who have blazed the trail so we can live our lives we want. Everyone in this room has the opportunity to be a trailblazer. Isn't that what the National Federation of the Blind is all about?
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
The National Federation of the Blind of Tennessee has blazed trails so that blind college students can have access to accessible textbooks and course materials in higher education.
Yes.
The National Federation of the Blind of Tennessee has blazed trails so that blind parents can raise their children without question.
Yes.
The National Federation of the Blind has blazed trails so that we could be the first airport to offer IRA side access services. And we will continue to blaze trails so that that blind people in the future don't have to face the same discrimination to employment or access technology that many of us in this room have faced. As some of you know, I am a runner. And over the past couple years, I've decided to take my running off-road onto trail, and do a little trailblazing myself. In 2016, I became the first blind person to complete the Pikes Peak Marathon, which is a round trip up and down Pikes Peak Mountain, one of Colorado's 14ers. My friend Luann Burke, who is also blind, was along for the ride and became the first blind person to complete the race up Pikes Peak. So that was a pretty fun day. Just this past summer, I completed the Pikes Peak Ultra, which is one of America's 10 toughest foot races. It was a 50-mile race over some pretty awesome terrain. And to my knowledge and the knowledge of other folks in the running community that I've talked to, I'm the first U.S. female to complete a 50-mile course, blind U.S. female to complete a 50-mile course. So today I just want to share a few of the lessons that I've learned while trailblazing. Every trailblazer needs a strong team. When I found the National Federation of the Blind, I found a group of people who believed in me, often more than I believed in myself. I didn't know most of the members, and they didn't know me, but they believed in me because the National Federation of the Blind believes in the dreams of all blind people. Over the months leading up to the We Fit 50 Pikes Peak Ultra 50-mile race, my National Federation of the Blind friends, Colorado Center for the Blind, and lots of other friends and families showed their support and their belief in my ability to complete the Pikes Peak Ultra by donating to my fundraising campaign. I was able to raise over $8,000 to support the continued work of We Fit Wellness, a cause very near and dear to my heart. My travel schedule leading up to the Pikes Peak Ultra was grueling. I had been out of town for about 3 weeks straight, and I was coming home from the 2017 Youth Slim program the night before the race. So my team had everything all lined up for me, so I thought all I would have to do was come home and take a nap. But little did I know, they had planned a really amazing surprise. I got to the airport and into my Uber, and all of a sudden I heard a knock on the window. "Excuse me, can I share your Uber?" I thought, oh, what is this crazy person? And I rolled down the window, and it was my dad all the way from Needless to say, I didn't get a lot of napping done. On race day, my team made sure, my Achilles Pikes Peak team, my friends, and my dad made sure I had everything I needed at every aid station. This was not an easy feat. They had to drive vehicles on roads that were definitely not meant for vehicles. And they had to stand out in the pouring rain and put up with my emotional highs and lows that ultimately come with ultra marathon running. Without my team, I couldn't have made it to the start line, let alone the finish. Sturgill Simpson says, "It ain't all flowers. Sometimes you're gonna feel the thorns." On race day, it rained on and off all day long. And by the time I got to what I thought of as my toughest part of the race, Mount Rosa, which was my nemesis, there was a really bad lightning storm going on. Now, on the best of days, Mount Rosa was a beast. She was big, she was tall, she was steep, she was slick, and I never ran on Mount Rosa without falling at least 3 or 4 times. But every time I did it, I got a little bit faster, and on race day, I was ready to own that part of the race. Because of the lightning, the course was rerouted, and I wasn't able to take on Rosa. But the thing that I realized is that that one piece of the race didn't define my success when I crossed the finish line. So even when we're in Washington, D.C., and we're trying to get legislation passed, and we find opposition, or when we're working on issues related to blindness in our state, and we hit a little bump in the road, it doesn't mean we need to quit, it doesn't mean we need to give up, and it doesn't mean we're less for the failures or the bumps that we encounter. All of those little bumps in the road make the success all the more sweet. Do things that scare you. One of the best ways to get out of your comfort zone is to do things that scare you. As blind people, we do it all the time.
Crossing a street.
Think about the very first time that as a blind person you learned to cross a busy intersection. Or the time that you went first to speak to a representative of Congress about an issue important to you as a blind person. It was a little scary, but when you do these things over and over again, they become second nature. My scariest run took place on Easter Sunday of 2017. I was trying out a new piece of the Pikes Peak Ultra course. I was having to boulder or free climb over some pretty big rock structures. I was running on very narrow path that had slick drop-offs on the side. And I was behind my guide crying quietly so that she wouldn't know how scared I was. The whole time in my head, I was saying, do things that scare you, do things that scare you, do things that scare you, do things that scare you. So I did, and I kept doing it, and I kept doing it, and I kept doing it. And when I did a similar talk to this in Colorado, and when I did, I showed some video, and I showed some video of some of the alternative techniques that I learned while on the trail that I videoed the week before I left for National Convention, which was about a month before the Pikes Peak Ultra. And the video was taken on that part of the trail as my Easter Sunday run. So even the things that seem really scary at the time will ultimately become second nature. Be persistent and consistent. Sometimes the little tasks may seem daunting. Making the phone call, selling the raffle tickets, working at the registration table. But it's the little things that add up to our success. By completing the tedious and inglorious tasks that we have to do, we can always achieve great things. At National Convention this summer, I had no access to trails, but it was time for some of my longest runs, so I had to spend hours and hours running up and down stairs and on the treadmill. My longest day was a 24-mile treadmill run and an hour running up and down stairs. But when you do those things that you need to do, when you make the calls, when you sell the raffle tickets, when you work the registration table, at the end of the day, you achieve big success. The last lesson that I want to share is that you should celebrate your success, but before you leave, start planning your next adventure. This is a lesson that I've learned from many leaders in the National Federation of the Blind. After a big accomplishment, I shed a few happy tears, raise a toast with friends, and celebrate. But before I leave, I start planning my next big adventure. As we spend time together this weekend, sharing ideas, imagination, and dreams, celebrate the successes of the National Federation of the Blind of Tennessee. But don't forget to start planning the next big thing. Let's go blaze some trails.
Jessica, that was pretty good.
Yeah.
Really good. That was a joke. was a joke. So I have a note from Greg Self, the volunteer chapter president, that they're having a 50-50 raffle. You want to see Art or Debbie or Greg to buy one of those tickets. What's going to, and I guess, you know, the more you buy, the more money you're probably going to win. So I don't know if that even makes sense or not, but it probably doesn't because it's your money. But anyway, more money you buy, the more money someone else would probably get.
Wow, that would be it.
You know, but go support the volunteer chapter. They're doing a lot of good things. And
What's the price?
it's 50-50. So all the cash that's donated to the raffle. And what is it? Is it $5 or $10 per ticket?
$2 a ticket, 3 for $5, and then we'll draw tonight at the banquet, and
Okay.
however much money we raise, volunteer chapter gets half, and whosever name we draw, they get the other half.
All right. Thank you, Debbie. I'm not going to do anything different with the door prize, but because I'll get mocked again by him. But can we have one?
Peace bath set, and it goes to
please,
Terry Smith. Just make sure you give it to the right wife, Terry.
He's going to have such a great bubble bath.
That's an inside joke, only he knows. Okay, one more.
Let's do it.
Okay, another stainless steel cup, and it goes to Sheila Hansen.
Hansen.
Bingo.
Ding, 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 ding. All right, Sheila. All right. So up next, our next presenter, I've talked to quite a few times before this year, but we really got to know each other a little bit better this year. I went to an event called Ski for Light, which is a cross-country ski event, and got to sit down with our next presenter a little bit and talk about Federation stuff. And it was really great, you know, because when somebody's been in the Federation for a long time, and they actually knew Dr. Jernigan, and they have all these stories, it's really nice to hear those stories and kind of relive some of that with them and through them in that way. So I got to sit down a lot with Larry because we had a great program and a great time. And are you going to tell the sumo wrestling story?
Since you beat me, you can tell it.
No, I'm not going to tell. I'm not going to tell. I'll retell it after you tell it, so they know the real truth. But please welcome Larry Povinelli, treasurer of the National Federation of the Blind of Alabama. Woo!
Now you guys just heard I'm from Alabama. Well, guess who won the national championship? How can I get up here and hear about Oklahoma and Tennessee and not talk about Alabama? So Roll Tide is right. Now you have to understand, I did not grow up in Alabama. I'm actually just a transplant there about 7 years. Spent time in Michigan and then Virginia. And most of my time in the Federation was actually 26 years with the Virginia affiliate, but I can see Tennessee definitely competes with the other affiliates, including Virginia and Alabama. Anyway, Jessica did a great job, and it's hard to follow her steps, but I'm going to do my best. First of all, James is correct. I have been in the Federation since 1984, founded the Federation. After I graduated from Michigan State, me and my wife got married, and we ended up in the D.C. area. My wife worked for the DOD. She's totally blind. I'm a lawyer for over 30 years. We've raised 2 daughters. Now, today, our grandson turned 2, and we just have a granddaughter born 10 days ago. So as you can see, the Federation hasn't stopped us to live the lives we want. I'm here to talk to you about an event that I got involved in 2009. After raising that family, they were off doing their thing. and practicing law at that point, 21 years, I said, you know, I need to take some time for myself, not in the best of shape, and I said I need to do something to challenge me. And it was not climbing Mount Everest like where Eric Weimer or some of these other things, and definitely what Jessica's done are awesome, but it was getting involved with an organization called Ski for Light. And Ski for Light's been around since 1975. And I'm going to actually play a little clip here, about 6 minutes, to let you get a sense of what the whole event's about. But basically, you can come to this event not having skied ever, which in my case, even growing up in Michigan, I did very little. And now, you know, we do 10K races. Challenged myself even one day, I did 30K in one day, which is pretty freaking hard to do when you're on skis doing cross country. It's a lot of work involved. And the event's held once a year for a week. Organization is all self-sustained, but it's an organization that truly believes in the philosophy of the Federation, because basically you come together as a group and as blind people, you get out there and you ski and you start basically where you're at. If you're fit and you want to do more, you can. If not, you start where you're at, and it's just an opportunity to, as we said, do something scary and get out there and do it. So I'm hoping the technology will cooperate with me here. I have my iPhone and a Bose speaker. I'm going to try to play the 6-minute video real quick, give you a sense of what it's about. And I think it should work. Let's see if I get the volume up here.
Is an all-volunteer, non-profit organization founded in 1975, based on Ski for Light Incorporated is an all-volunteer, non-profit organization founded in 1975, based on a Norwegian program begun in 1964, and the ties to Norway and Norwegian culture remain strong. The mission of the organization is to teach blind, visually, and mobility impaired adults the sport of classic cross-country skiing. Each year, Ski for Light Incorporated conducts a week-long event that attracts upwards of 300 skiers and guides. The event is held in a different location each year, from New Hampshire to northern Michigan to Colorado and to Alaska, to spread the Ski for Light philosophy and idea to as many people as possible. Bonnie O'Day, skier from Alexandria, Virginia.
I have never participated in outdoor sports, even though I grew up in Minnesota. I never felt like that was really a possibility for me.
Holly Schmaling, guide from Delafield, Wisconsin.
This is a recreational group. If you want to race, that's great, but you don't have to be a racer to come to this group. We're all here for fun and just to be out on the snow and enjoy the snow.
During the Ski for Light week, each disabled skier is paired for the entire week with an experienced, sighted, able-bodied cross-country skier who acts as a ski instructor and guide.
Turn into a tube. Faster.
The disabled person skis in tracks or grooves in the snow, while the guide skis in a parallel set of tracks. The guide tells the skier about upcoming changes in the terrain and trail, offers instructional tips and suggestions, support as necessary, encouragement, and describes the countryside.
Excellent. We're going to go a left curve, follow your left edge.
Scott McCall, Vice President of Ski for Light, tells about his experience with first-time guides.
The guides that I've talked to over the years say that initially they came here, they didn't know much about Ski for Light. They may not have ever met a blind person before, and they thought they might be going to do something for people that are blind. Early in the week, they realized that they're coming to do something with people that are blind.
The visually and mobility impaired adults who attend each Ski for Light week come from all over the U.S. and from several foreign countries. Many of them come to Ski for Light with a desire to become more physically active and fit. Again, Bonnie O'Day.
One thing that I'm really interested in is staying aerobically fit and allowing myself to get enough exercise so that I remain healthy.
Judy Dixon, skier from Arlington, Virginia.
People who don't see, people who have mobility impairments can get outside and move around and play and have fun. That's an amazing part.
Most of these skiers discover in the process of learning how to cross-country ski that they can accomplish much more than others have told them. Denise Avant, skier from Chicago, Illinois.
At the beginning of the week, you might have fallen down, but then as the week goes on, you get more steady and used to your skis, and your guide is there to teach you and give you pointers, and then all of a sudden you have it.
Nino Bacchini, skier from Grosse Pointe Woods, Michigan.
When you get out to do activities, you generally have to do them with someone. It's hard to find someone who's like-minded, wants to do it at your level, and likes to do what you like to do.
Again, Scott McCall.
It takes a great deal of both trust and communication to respond to the commands of a guide.
Your hand on the cabin, gently down, not a problem. You get your tracks. There's some white balls here.
When you're going across a flat area or going down a hill at a high speed, and your guide says tips right or a little left, you have to execute that command without stopping and wondering why. You just have to trust.
Thanks to all of the folks who volunteered.
The volunteer guides who attend Ski for Light are a very special group of people. They pay the same event fees as disabled skiers so that they can share a favorite activity with someone who would otherwise not have the opportunity to participate. Again, Holly Schmeling.
So either you're teaching someone to ski who's never been on the snow, or you're really helping someone who's a little more competitive perfect techniques.
Most of these guides discover that in the process of giving of themselves, they are getting as much or more back in return. Many of them return to each event year after year. Leslie Macklin, guide from Evanston, Illinois.
I look forward to this event every year, and I think of it as the most wonderful volunteer vacation.
Ski for Light relies on the generosity and support of individuals, corporations, fraternal groups, and foundations to keep the cost of each event affordable for all who wish to attend.
All right, so there we go.
To participate, to become a guide, or to help support our mission, please visit us today at
my Janet there, I saw her a couple weeks at the Alabama convention a couple weeks ago. Anyway, Ski for Light's an awesome organization, and James, like you said, went for the first time this year. I would encourage, if you ever thought about doing any kind of just outdoor activity like skiing, to take this on. It's pretty much, taking on something. Oops. Hold on.
The next YouTube video.
Exactly. We're on to the next YouTube, but didn't want to stop. Don't you love technology? Play forever. You can start it and play forever. Anyway, I would encourage you to come and join us. Next one will be out in Colorado at Snow Mountain Ranch. Unfortunately, it tends to compete with Washington Seminars sometimes. But right now the dates are January 27th through February 3rd, 2019. And the details and everything come up about mid-July. I would encourage, if you are serious, to get your applications in early, because we actually ended up with a serious waiting list this year. We had over 300 that participated. But if you're a first or second year, you definitely get priority, because we do encourage new people to come and be a part of this. And it's just great fun. And then, you can even do sumo wrestling, which James and I did. And I hate to say this, he beat me like all 3 times. He's a strong guy, so I'm just saying.
That was a great.
But he took advantage of the elderly, a little bit older than you are. Anyway, and that's the other thing, is that we do have not only the skiing, but you get to build some great friendships. We have events that go on during the evenings, social events every night, and then we also have what we call special interest discussions groups. So 1 year we talked about Newsline, we talked about Federation things that we do, and the other activities. So it's just a great fun group. I've been part of it since 2009, and actually been there every year except one, so that's 9 times I've participated, and also been on the board. So anything you need to know more about it, sfl.org is the website. Feel free to talk to me about it. I'll be here through tomorrow morning. Anyway, that's kind of where I'm at, unless we have specific questions. That's my presentation. I'll leave it to James.
Sorry, can I have one question?
James can.
One question. No, really, really quick, because we're behind.
Is it only downhill or is
It's cross country. This
I mean, is it only cross country, not downhill?
SFL is specifically cross country. There are other groups that do downhill.
All right, Amy. All right. Like I said, we're running behind, but Amy Harris is here representing Achilles. And it's already been mentioned at least once in our, that's right, Jessica runs with Achilles. So yeah. Please welcome Amy Harris, Executive Director or Co-Executive Director of Nashville Achilles.
Thank you all so much for inviting us. And I know y'all are running a little behind, but I definitely want to share some stuff with you. And I think this is one time that I'm glad people can't see me because honestly, we were out at Edwin Warner Park this morning at 6:45 to help with a run at the race Judicata. It was a 5 and 10K put on by the Nashville Bar Association, the Young Lawyers Division. We had 28 athletes with disabilities participating in the race today. And of those 28, 5 were visually impaired blind athletes. And these are all Achilles athletes who are in training for the St. Jude Rock and Roll Nashville. One of these athletes will be racing in Boston a week from Monday. I'll be with her there to guide her. So don't let anyone say you can't participate in mainstream sports activities such as running and walking, because you definitely can. But I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself. So yes, I'm the co-executive director of Achilles, and that's why I'm here today. I'm very passionate about this organization. We began in 2012. I've been there since the beginning. I started with my daughter, Lizzie, who's here with me today. She's over by the door about to block someone's exit here. We're going to run into Lizzie on her walker in just a second. Yep, now. Okay. Can you scoot up there, Lizzie? Sorry, Lizzie's on a walker, so she's kind of blocking the door. She's trying to move, I think. Yeah. You might have to limbo under her walker. That's another sport activity. That or hurdling.
Y'all, it ain't
so
hard.
thank you.
Get lunch is ready, so.
Don't hurt my girl going out there. All right, so what is Achilles? Achilles is a local nonprofit that partners athletes with and without disabilities, primarily running, but in Achilles we use the word running very loosely. Running can include conventional running, but it's also athletes who use a wheelchair, a racing chair, someone that uses a hand cycle, a visually impaired or blind athlete who might use a tether or hold on to the arm of someone else so that they have a sighted guide. We have folks who have prosthetics, blade runners, any number of different people, and that's not very much. James actually threw that. But Achilles Nashville is part of a larger organization. Our headquarters is in New York. It started in the 80s with an athlete, well, not even an athlete, really. It started in the 80s with this gentleman, Dick Trom, who was an above-the-knee amputee, and he decided he wanted to get into running. He was the first amputee to run the New York City Marathon, and he started a group in New York called the Achilles Track Club, which later became known as Achilles International. So there's over 65 chapters worldwide now. Nashville started in 2012. We have rapidly become about the second largest chapter in the world. And we started with 2 leaders, Sarah Hart and Melanie Yappin, and Teresa Kayam, who some of you all may know, a blind athlete, was our first athlete to start. And Teresa had not lost her vision too much before that, a few years before. And she used to live over by Shelby Bottom, and she used to hear the Nashville Marathon go by her house all the time, or she would go and see it when she, was sighted. And she always said, I want to run a marathon, I want to run a marathon. And then one of the first things she thought of when she lost her sight, and I don't know if y'all know Teresa, but she lost hers fairly rapidly, was, I'm never going to be able to run a marathon now. And then she got hooked up with Achilles, and she was the first athlete to run a marathon with Achilles. Primarily our group is adults, although we do partner with the Able Youth Group on lots of occasions. They were out with us this morning, and that's the group Athletes Building Life Experiences, and they're out with us quite a bit. We meet every Wednesday at 6:30 at McCabe Park Community Center. We certainly invite anyone to come out there. We'd love to have you. And we pair up athletes and guides so that we can all run together. We do that little Richland Creek Greenway area. And then the first Wednesday of every month, we go to Italy's or Local Taco and have fun over there too. But I started at Achilles. Lizzie, my daughter, has cerebral palsy. She uses a walker, a wheelchair, and she has a scooter. But she wanted to start doing some kind of sports activities. And so we started with Achilles together in 2012. And Lizzie started on her walker. And we would do some of the 5Ks, and it would take her 3 hours or more to finish. It took her a few minutes. It was a hot minute to finish with Lizzie. But she kept doing them. And she wanted to do the Disney race a couple of years ago, and Disney has a qualifying time that you have to finish in, or a time you have to finish in. And so Lizzie was not going to be able to do that in her walker, so she decided to start on the hand cycle. Well, that's her mode of transportation now when she's running. She uses the hand cycle all the time now. She's gotten much faster. You know, she did a 10K today. She did her first marathon in January. So she's progressed quite a bit with her her time at Achilles. And obviously, you know, well, Lizzie's not blind, but she certainly has faced obstacles, you know, to get where she is. And it's been really fun to watch her grow, you know, with Achilles and achieve her goals too. Let's see, so as far as our athletes who are with Achilles, our visually impaired, our blind athletes, you know, we have athletes of all ages, all abilities. We have some who, you know, 70-year-old folks who can walk a mile maybe, and that's, you know, pushing it for them. And we have some who are training for the New York Marathon. As I said, we have some going to the Boston Marathon. We take, yeah, yeah, Stephanie. Yeah, and I can tell you a little story about Stephanie. Okay, so Stephanie started with Achilles about 2 years ago, and well, in 2015, the end of it. She wanted to do the New York City Marathon, and that was going to be her one and done marathon. So she, you know, she was at the time a junior at Vanderbilt. Stephanie, I guess a lot of you all know her. She has a syndrome, Stevens-Johnson syndrome, lost her vision when she was young at the age of 3. But anyway, she started training, and she was going to do, you know, New York, and we did New York, and she did New York so fast that she qualified for Boston. Oh. Well, you don't not run Boston if you qualify for it, you know. So Boston was going to be her last marathon. So she did Boston, and then we had a whole group of us that was going out to California for the California International Marathon, and we partnered with 60 visually impaired blind athletes out there. And she ended up qualifying again for Boston, so we're going to Boston again in 2 weeks. But beyond that, she's now set her sights. She wants to start training for the 2020 Paralympics. So she wants to do training to do shorter distance, some sprints, maybe 1,500. But, you know, Teresa, Stephanie, you know, every athlete, there's so many stories of success of the athletes that have joined our chapter, and they're all, you know, inspirational. Every story is different. You know, as I said, we have several blind athletes in their late 60s and 70s. And they come, you know, we talk a lot about our athletes who do Boston, who do New York, who do whatever, but I am equally impressed with those athletes that come out every week that do that mile that's hard for them, because they're out there every week and they're doing it. And it's fitness, it's health, it's fun, it's social. And I just love seeing them out there going the distance, walking with their sighted guides, you know, taking that leap of faith that, you know, to trust that their guides are going to get them around the course safely and help them achieve their goals, whatever their goals may be. I think what's most important of all, what we see each week, are the friendships that develop. It's very much a growing family. people know each other well. We partner with different guides every week, so you get to know all the athletes and guides, and it's just a very warm, kind of a big family with everyone caring for each other. Every year we have our own race called Hope and Possibility. This year it's on September. Hello, it's not in September. It's on Saturday, October 20th. We would welcome any of you all to come out anytime for that run. We'd welcome you to come out any Wednesday. Come run, walk, crawl. I don't care what it is. You know, whatever works for you. And I know some of you aren't in the, you know, the greater Nashville area, so that's, you know, I'd love to see other chapters starting, you know, in other places in Tennessee. That would be great. There is another program, if you're not familiar with it, there's a program called United in Stride that Richard Hunter, another blind athlete, very avid runner, ultra runner, started, and this program does match athletes who are visually impaired and blind with guides all around the country. You can register on the United in Stride website, and if you need a guide, they will find one for you. It's a tech thing. I gotta wrap it up. Okay, all right. So anyways, I can go on forever and ever about them, but please, you know, if you have any questions, ask those. If you want to come out and run with us, that'd be great too. So any questions?
Got time for one.
Any questions?
Better be good.
Better be good, yeah.
I mean, one thing that a lot of people don't understand is, you know, when we're talking about Ski for Light or whether we're talking about Achilles, we're talking about volunteers, you know, who are sighted and who come along and help us to do certain things and, you know, join a team with us. Like Team Lizzie over there, and so give them a huge hand because they sacrifice a lot of their time to come out and make sure that we can be independent and live the life we want to live. So thank you, Amy.
Yes, thank you. Thank you all.
All right, up next is Ruth Hemphill.
She's
Apparently Ruth is strutting.
Out when I went to library school. Everyone said, "You won't make it in a library, you're too noisy." I don't know how many of you have been in libraries lately, but they aren't the quiet places.
No, not anymore.
Computer lab, forget it. Thank you so much for inviting me to speak to your conference every year. I know I sometimes drone on and on about the same things over and over, but I always think, well, maybe there's new people that haven't heard it. But I have some new things to say this year, so I'm so glad some of you stayed. A lot of you stayed in the room. I feel like I should have been out at my booth this morning because there's quite a few people out there too, but the programs you guys have are always so good. I just stayed in here and listened. But to continue the football thing, how many of you know where I went to school?
Is it Missouri?
University of Missouri, who's played in both the Oklahoma Conference and the SEC. And we have beat both Oklahoma and UT and Vandy and Alabama at one point in time. I looked it up before I came up here.
You're really scoring points now.
Go Tigers. People here tell me I should convert to be a Tennessee fan, but you know, living here in Nashville, there's UT and there's Vandy, and I have friends from both. Besides, they did give me well, they didn't give them to me, but I do have 2 degrees from Mizzou, so gotta stick with that one. And just remember, as I often say, if you have any questions anytime during my presentation, don't hesitate to shout them out because I feel like it's more important to get your questions answered than to give you my presentation. But what I expected Jim to say, this is one of the new things. I don't know if you noticed in your program, but it says the Traveling Library has a new name.
Did you get that?
Yep.
Did you get the title?
We got the new name.
Okay.
Okay,
Traveling
Of the traveling, yeah, I didn't get that.
I'll explain it to you later.
Okay, I'm sorry. I didn't get
Nobody
that.
understands my agendas but me, I guess.
Well, I thought about it. I was a bookmobile librarian once upon a time, but I don't think James knows that.
I do. I'll tell the story to you.
Okay. Anyway, the new name of the Tennessee Library for the Blind and Physically Handicapped is, drumroll. Anyway, it's the Tennessee Library for Accessible Books and Media, and I'm so proud I got it out without pausing to think about it. I've had to pause and think about it a couple times when I answered the phone this week because we just started using it this week. The bill's been in the legislature. It did take an act of the legislature to change it, plus the governor's signature. And we didn't figure there would be any problem with changing it, but you never know. The governor might decide for some reason I'm mad at the state library and I'm not signing. No, he signed it. So that is our new name, and we will be using it from now on. However, you will still see on my business card out on the table a lot of things still has the old name because we didn't print up anything new until the governor signed it. And the governor signed it in March, but our Secretary of State wanted to make a splashy press release, which he did last week, and told us not to say anything about it as well, even though it was public record, until he did that. And there's a slight mistake in the press release, but the bill was proposed by a name that might be familiar to some of you. It was proposed by Representative Darren Jernigan.
Any relation?
I suspect possibly because I think Dr. Jernigan was once lived in Tennessee, but I don't know because I don't know Representative Jernigan personally.
No relation, I checked. No relation. Darren was actually a student, but Darren is a graduate student from Nfb State, by the way.
Oh,
program.
The Blue Devils have to get in there too.
The Blue Raiders.
The Blue Raiders. Oh, I'm so sorry.
I'm so sorry. Please don't insult the Blue Raiders.
My apologies to the Blue Raiders.
How about the Blue Angels?
Yeah.
Something else that's going to be happening soon, and you probably may have heard about it. In December, the Tennessee State Library and Archives broke ground on a brand new building, and it will include the Tennessee Library for Accessible Books and Media. Okay. It's going to be at the corner of 6th Avenue and Jefferson Street, just across from the Bicentennial Mall, right near the Sound Stadium. In fact, I'm kind of grateful for the city for building the Sound Stadium where they did, because that was going to be our parking lot. And I thought, oh God, we'll lose all our parking. But no, the city agreed to build, if the state gave them that land, they'd build us an underground parking garage. I'm pretty excited about that.
Thanks.
Yeah. It's scheduled to be finished the fall of 2019. We all know how construction programs go, especially based on weather. I've been by the site recently. They've moved a lot of dirt around, I can say that much. Something else I need to tell you all, which I'm not happy about. We're going to have 2 retirements coming up this month. Annette Hadley, who's been with the library for 30 years and is a reader advisor for some of you, has decided to retire. It's well deserved. It's breaking my heart. I don't know how we'll get along without her, but she lives in Columbia, Tennessee, and has been driving into Nashville for 30 years. Wow. So it's well deserved. We will miss her greatly. The other retirement may not be anyone you're familiar with. Ron Gross has been with the library for 32 years. Wow. And he works in our circulation department. And the guys up in circulation, and for a while we had a lady up there, but it's mainly guys. Oh, we do have another lady now. I shouldn't say that. But anyway, don't get the attention that the reader advisors do. So you don't know their names necessarily, but my God, they're the ones that put the mail cards in the books and pull them off the shelf and get them out in the mail to you. And after they come back, they open them and inspect them and make sure the right book is in the right case. And if you got one with the wrong case in the cartridges, it was their mistake, but technically it was the person who had it first. Because they're supposed to put it back in the cartridge. And they inspect between 800 and 1,000 cartridges a day. So it's possible they miss one. Ron Gross is very, very detail-oriented, so I seriously doubt if any of the ones were missed were by him, but it's possible. He also helps shelve the books, and we will miss him greatly too, and he's retiring this month too. And I know you're running behind, and I know everybody wants lunch, and so I appreciate you staying. I'm going to stop now. I will be here the rest of the day. I have a booth out in the hall. I'm staying for the banquet. I could come tomorrow if you need me to. However, on Thursday I was in Memphis, yesterday I was in Chattanooga, and today I'm here, so I may stay home with my husband and my dogs tomorrow. Unless you need me. Thank you very much. If you have any questions, I'm here.
Got time for a couple questions. My question, could you repeat that name one more time?
Tennessee Library for Accessible Books and Media. You're trying to confuse me, aren't you?
Okay. 2 more questions.
The acronym for years and years has been LBPH, and now it's LABM, I think.
Ah, that's good to know.
I'm not sure I like that acronym.
LABM, Lab.
Oh, yeah. No, be careful.
Okay. Just call it LAM.
Yeah.
Yes. We'll just move to the
That's
letters
media
LAM.
books. Yeah. I'll tell Maria that.
Any questions? Of course, everybody knows you can go on your iPhone or any smartphone really and download BART, and you can get all your digital books there through National Library Services. Good stuff.
We got some really exciting things coming out on the national level, but I'm not going to talk about them yet because they're not ready yet. And I do remember having the experience of working many years ago, more than I would say, when a prior director of the National Library Service announced the wonderful availability of the combination cassette and record player, and everyone was so excited, but we didn't get any for several years. So, and by then, no one wanted them anymore. So I will close with that. And again, I will be at the booth this afternoon if you have other questions. Thank you.
All right, give her the hand. All right, we're about to adjourn, and everybody don't forget with your registration did include a box lunch in room 226. That's room 226 if you'd like to go pick that up. Got a nice sandwich, chips, and dessert for you. But we'll adjourn until 2 o'clock. We're going to have a really good session, so make sure you're back. There's going to be some really fun stuff.
Pretty good. Oh my gosh, I cannot believe that Brandon is here.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Just saying, I did hear my baby. Just saying. Yeah, just let me know when you start. Huh? Yeah. I said, just let me know.
Well, you know, the only thing about it is, love it. But it's fun. Yeah, it was really good.